On November 3rd, 2015, Gray Hollow, West Virginia. A simple welfare check sent 2 cops up a foggy mountain road to a house that shouldn't have had power. One came back before dawn, sick and shaking, saying the radios were wrong and the rooms didn't match. The other never came back. The department pulled a dash cam with a gap of hours, a body camera with voices nobody remembers saying, and a page in a young deputy's handwriting dated after he vanished. Folks still argue about what was in that house. This is the story of the survivor. I worked nights for Gray Hollow PD. Small town, small problems, bar fights, deer strikes, welfare checks. 4 of us on nights, if you count the chief when he couldn't sleep. I had 5 years in. Nothing fancy. My ex said I liked routine because it made me feel like I had control. Maybe. That night was plain cold. Mist off the river, then real fog by midnight. You couldn't see 20 feet. The defroster barely kept up. I had a thermos of coffee and extra wool socks in my bag. Rowie was my partner. He had 20 years and that dry humor that tells you when it's safe to breathe. We hit Goosemart around 10, joked with Tasha about kids stealing sour candy, ate stale donuts in the lot and listened to dispatch. At 11:42, dispatch sent us to a welfare check on Old Quarry Road. Caller said there were lights on at the McBride place. Nobody had lived there since the dad died in 2008. Caller said they knocked and heard a phone ringing inside, but nobody answered. Older guy walking his dog wouldn't give a name. Everyone knows that house. You pass it and try not to look because you feel like someone's in the window. County had boarded it up twice. Boards always ended up stacked neat on the porch a week later. Rowie looked tired like, of course it's that house. We took the call. County said Deputy Andreas would meet us at the fork. He was young and eager. We left town past the paper mill stink, over the bridge up into trees. The fog got thick. The reflectors looked like eyes. Pine needles made the blacktop slick. I kept it at 20 and held the wheel like a driving instructor. We had the usual gear: mag lights, spare radios, med bag, door wedges, gloves, paper masks, because last time the smell in there was bad. I had my old Polaroid in the trunk. Rowie teased me about it, but I like photos you can't edit. We weren't expecting trouble. You rarely do on welfare checks. We met Andreas at the fork around midnight. He was leaning on his SUV smoking. Tried to hide it when we rolled up. Rowie told him to put it out. We went over the plan. 2 to the door, 1 covers the back. Check out buildings, knock and announce. If nobody answers, call for re-entry. We set our radios to the same TAC channel. When we turned onto Old Quarry, the fog felt wrong, like it pressed in. Our engines sounded far away. We stopped by the McBride place. The fog sat low so you could see the ground. There were tracks in the mud from a narrow tire, not a car. Maybe a handcart or motorcycle. They came from the road, crossed the ditch, went right up to the porch, no return tracks. I pointed it out. Rowie said probably kids with a wheelbarrow. Maybe. Lights were on inside, 1 in the kitchen, 1 upstairs. Power was supposed to be cut years ago. People use generators there sometimes, but I didn't hear one. Porch boards were dry even after days of rain. They should have been slick. Front door had a new padlock hanging open. On the door jamb, someone had penciled a date, November 3rd, 2015, today's date. We knocked. Dispatch asked for status. I said, 3 on scene, knocking, stand by. A phone rang upstairs. 5 slow rings and it stopped. We announced, Gray Hollow Police. Nothing. Something moved inside, not footsteps, light, like a rope swinging. We went in. Hall smelled like damp drywall and bleach. Kitchen on the left. Bare bulb over the table. 4 mugs on the table, all different, with coffee rings like they sat long enough to cool. Each rim had a smear of red clay like someone drank with a dirty mouth. Stack of mail on the counter. Envelopes to McBride, some years old. Top letter had a postmark from 2 days ago. No return address. In pencil on the flap, someone wrote, "You left the door open." Andreas said he had the back. He clicked his radio and moved. Rowie and I went slow. The living room had old plaid couches under sheets. The sheets were clean. No dust. The TV was on, showing static, but there wasn't a cord in the wall. Family photos over the fireplace were crooked. Someone had made new holes lower, then put them back where they were. Tiny scratches over the eyes in every face. Our TAC channel popped. Someone keyed up and let go without speaking. Then our own voices came through, delayed, saying the knock and announce we'd done 2 minutes ago. I looked at Rowie. He shrugged like bleed over. I didn't say out loud my radio was turned down low enough that I shouldn't have heard anything. We went upstairs. The layout felt off. House looked small from the road. Inside, the hall felt way longer. Carpet was wet. My socks went damp inside my boots. Door at the end had fresh paint, still sticky, a hair stuck in it. The phone started ringing again behind it. 5 rings, then it stopped. Rowie went first. He knocked and tried the knob. The room was small, no windows, old writing desk, rotary phone on the floor. The cord went under the desk and into a hole in the boards. Off-white phone that looked new out of a bag. No dial tone. Rowie lifted the receiver and tilted it so I could listen. Nothing. He put it down and it rang again and we both jumped. We checked the other rooms. Bathroom with a clawfoot tub and a brown ring at waterline. A kid's room with glow stars and planets on the ceiling. They glowed faint green even though we'd just turned the light on. Master bedroom had a made bed and a suit laid out like for morning. The coat cuffs were wet. I didn't touch it. Radio crackled. Dispatch asking if we were clear. I keyed up. We're upstairs, making entry in 3rd room, stand by. As soon as I let go, my voice came back on our TAC channel with a half-second lag. Same sentence. Then it added, "He's in the wall." My mouth went dry. Rowie gave me the keep moving look. He probably thought someone had a scanner. We regrouped at the top of the stairs. Andreas came on. He sounded off, trying to talk like he was calm, but you could hear the run in his breath. He said, "Hey, I got something by the crawl space. Can you guys come out back?" We started down. My boot snagged a nail. I count steps out of a habit. 13. On the way up, I'd counted 12. I stopped halfway and counted again going down. Still 13. I told myself I messed up. We found Andreas at the cellar doors behind the house. 2 wooden doors that open out. New chain through the handles. Bright metal, no rust. The padlock was snapped with bolt cutters and lying in the grass. Andreas said he heard something moving inside. I heard it too. Like someone talking through dirt and wood. We announced. No answer. We popped the chain and pulled the doors. It was just earth and rock and old jars on shelves. Smelled like creek water and apples. We shined lights and saw prints. Bare feet, small. A kid. They went in circles like pacing. Too many. Some fresh, sharp edges. Some old and crumbly. The small prints overlapped our boot prints that we hadn't made yet. We didn't go down. I wanted to. Rowie shook his head. We backed away and closed the doors. Then we saw the chain had been looped from the inside. You couldn't have locked it from the yard without reaching in blind. Rowie saw it. He didn't say much. He bagged the cut lock and handed it to me without looking. My radio made the old call tone we stopped using years ago. 3 quick beeps. We froze. Dispatch said, Grey Hollow to Unit 2. Union 2-2. Copy. That was Roey's old call sign from more than 10 years back. Roey didn't move. Dispatch repeated. Then an old woman's voice cut in and said my last name the way my grandmother used to say it. Wrong, with an extra bit in it. Same voice said, You should have stayed at the bridge. I wanted to answer. Roey put a hand on my shoulder and shook his head. He pointed at the cruisers. Time to clear and get a warrant and more people up here. As we moved, headlights showed through the fog on the road. 2 sets. Then gone. We stood there listening to engines we couldn't see. My skin hurt. I couldn't tell if it was the cold or fear. On the way off the porch, I saw my boot print where it shouldn't be. I crouched, my tread, my worn heel, angled like I'd been standing with weight on my left, facing the door. It sat over a small, bare footprint, pressing into it, newer. I set my boot beside it, and it matched, perfect. I took a Polaroid. The photo came out grey and stayed grey. We went to our cars. Roey said he'd call the chief. Andreas said he'd do a quick walk around. We split for maybe 10 minutes. I sat in my cruiser and typed a short report to get the request moving. The overhead light made everything look staged. My fingers didn't want to work. I kept checking the rear view like someone was sitting up in the back seat. Dumb. I knew it was empty. My laptop pinged. New email from my own address. No subject. 1 line. Don't let him call your name. I felt sick. I looked over at Roey to make a joke and shake it off. He had his phone down by his thigh, not on his ear, just staring. His eyes were wet. He asked me if I was Academy class of 2008 or 2009. I said 2009. He nodded like that mattered. Then he asked what day it was. I said it. He repeated it and added 2 other years under his breath like he was choosing. We went back in together because being alone felt worse. Inside, the living room had changed. Couch covers gone. The TV was off. Dirt on the floor showed prints that looked like ours. Same tread, same weight. But the stride was wrong. Longer. I usually turn my right foot out a little because my knee's bad. These didn't. In the kitchen, the mugs were in the sink, rinsed. The faucet was running. I shut it off. The phone upstairs gave 1 short ring. I told Roey we had to leave. He didn't argue. We went out and radioed from the yard, asked County for more units. When I looked at the cellar doors, they were cracked open. The chain was back through the handles. No lock. Something moved under the house. The old woman's voice came up from the dirt under my boots. Not in my head, not in the radio, from the ground. She said, "Don't look back." Roey grabbed my arm hard and pulled me toward the cars. We made it to the cruisers. I put mine in drive. Roey looked at me over his roof, door open, 1 foot out, like a question. I nodded. He nodded. We were going to leave and wait for daylight and explain it. Then Andreas screamed. That sound's still in my head when I wake up to pee at 3 in the morning. I threw my car in park and ran. Roey was right behind me. We got to the backyard. Andreas stood at the cellar doors with his back to us, shoulders hunched. He was talking through the gap, using my name. He kept saying, "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I can fix it." We dragged him back. He felt light. He was cold, like he'd been in a river. He fought until he saw my face. Then he said, "I thought you were in there." We shoved him into the back of his SUV and hit the child locks. He shook and repeated the same line over and over, like he was trying to push a thought out of his head. The fog thinned, and for a second I saw movement in the upstairs window, like someone stepped away. The porch light went out. The kitchen light started to pulse, dim then bright. Rowie said we were leaving. I got in and started my car. As I rolled, my body camera turned on by itself. It chirped and the red light came on. I didn't touch it. I said into my mic, "Grey Hollow to dispatch, we're clearing, we're coming back." My voice sounded normal to me. Later, the body cam audio shows a second voice under mine. My voice, same pattern, saying, "We're staying, we're going back in." Halfway down the road, we lost Andreas in the mirrors. Rowie pulled over. I pulled over. The back seat of the SUV was empty. Child locks were still on. Moisture fogged the inside glass like heavy breathing. Dome light on, driver door shut, keys in the ignition. We called his name. Nothing. The trees clicked and creaked like footsteps just out of sight. We searched till 2 in the morning. State police showed. Dogs, volunteers. We said the usual. I wrote my report. I put in what I could defend and left out the voice that sounded like my grandmother, and the chain looped from inside, and the email that went away 5 minutes after it arrived. I wrote that the house felt wrong, and I was worried we were being lured. My sergeant read it and didn't say a word. I went home at 8, showered, put on a suit, and resigned before lunch. I couldn't unhear my name said like that. I never went back up that road. After that, I heard things from other folks. A volunteer found a small handprint on the undercarriage of my cruiser. Red clay like in the cellar. The print faced toward the engine like someone reached up from below and pushed. My dashcam was normal till midnight. Then it freezes on a frame of the porch and jumps to 4 in the morning with the same frame, just darker. The body cam that flipped itself on recorded 32 minutes from us, leaving the yard to when we found the empty SUV. The audio recordings got footsteps that don't line up with ours and a voice half a second behind me, saying different stuff with my same rhythm. County sent a page of handwriting they found in the mudroom to the lab. It's Andreas's academy oath in his block letters, the neat way he wrote when he tried hard. The date on it is 2 days after he went missing. They never found him. The cellar walls were solid rock behind old beams. The house sat empty till spring. Then it burned down in the middle of the night. No sign of gas or anything. No tracks in the yard besides deer. The caller who reported light never came forward. Dispatch keeps a copy of the welfare check in the training folder. If you listen with headphones, there's a second voice that says the address wrong, in the way my ex's grandmother did. Different people hear different folks in that voice. Some hear a parent, one guy heard his kid. We stopped making rookies listen to it. The official report says Deputy Andreas is missing and foul plays suspected. It says, "My resignation's unrelated." The chief shakes his head when someone brings it up at church. Someone always asks. They recovered a cut padlock bagged with Rowie's initials. A grey Polaroid that under strong light shows the outline of a foot beside the loose porch board. A piece of clean chain with skin oil from an unknown person, and a list of names thumbtacked inside a kitchen cabinet with a new pin. The names include Andreas, mine, and Rowie's. A faint older name scratched out. Nobody agrees what that scratched name says. Some swear it's theirs. Nobody knows who poured coffee into those mugs. Nobody knows how the power stayed on. Nobody knows how a voice can say your name in the voice of someone you miss. I don't know what I would have done if I let it call me back upstairs. I know what I did. I quit. I moved 2 counties over. I still keep my radio in a closet, battery out, and sometimes at night I hear it hum a little from behind the door, like it's catching a signal from somewhere that isn't on any map. something beyond this world.